we can confirm that we have received a tariff submission from Energy Fiji Limited requesting a tariff increase. Now, usually it would be easier for us to tell you what percentage of increase is being sought, but EFL has filed a submission with a different methodology and different pricing principles. We are currently in preliminary discussions with them, and we will make a call for public submission in due time. But just to give you some update on that, the new submission by EFL moves away from the current system of having a kilowatt charge, which is currently say 39 cents, to a new variable cost and a fixed cost component. So they want a fixed charge and a variable charge. If you apply that to bills, say if a residential customer was paying $50, the new bill as per their submission would be around $69, which equates to roughly 40% increase. But if say somebody was paying $100, $100 in their bills previously, for them it's a 17% increase. So please don't go and sensationalize, 40% increase is sought. There is a difference in the methodology with which EFL has applied. We will clarify this methodology and will make available the submissions to the public so everybody can see what EFL has submitted, and we'll call for a period where we'll go out and consult, and we're hoping active participation from members of the public because it's going to affect them. So the more that you pay, so if somebody was paying say $200 in their bill, for them it will be a 6% increase. Why? Because the dollar value might change, the dollar value may be higher, but ultimately the percentages, because it's applied on a bigger number, reduces. So it's important to not jump onto the bandwagon and sensationalize information and cause panic and fear. The reason I choose to address this is because previously, sometimes last year, there was news going around that port charges have been increased by 30% when we had called for public submissions. Now, calling for public submission is transparency in the manner in which FCCC conducts its pricing activities. When we receive a submission, we'll publicize it, we'll get people to give their comments on it, and then we'll finalize it. I'll give you two examples. Both port charges that were submissions were received. We have concluded our investigations into that, and we've written back to Fiji Ports saying there will be no increase in port charges. Similar thing with the Fiji Sugar Corporation. We've approved no change in sugar prices, and we will review the prices in the upcoming 6 months. As you know, that the price was due to change, and an increase was part of the two-tier system that was to be applied to them. The FCCC has looked at the efficiency targets and the targets we had set when we had given the price increase. Until and unless those efficiency requirements and targets are met, we will not provide any other increase. So we've said no. So just because we call for some public submission and just because we have publicized it does not mean there is going to be an increase. It means it could be an increase, it could be a reduction, it could be no change. We have not formed an opinion. And so we want members of the public as well as businesses to come out and provide their comments and feedback on this as well. So EFL submission has been received. We have written to the Water Authority of Fiji as well. In fact, we've been following up with them on filing their submissions. We've not had anything from them. I believe they are organizing themselves in preparing a submission. But I did note that there was an article by Fiji Times saying that water rates would increase. That is currently not true. Water Authority had filed a submission in 2019, which they had to update. And in 2019, we had written back to them saying, now that the global pandemic has hit late in 2019, early in 2020, what is your stance in this? Because we cannot go out and do public consultations under these circumstances, and that is why it was put on a halt. We have seen comments from the Fiscal Review Committee calling FCCC's response unimaginative. Unfortunately, it's not the Wild West. We can't just plug numbers out of anywhere and say that this is what the tariff rates ought to be. It follows a very scientific methodology. We have to rely on the submission because at the end of the day, we owe a duty of care to the Fijian people. We must make sure that any changes that we pass has to be duly accounted for, scrutinized, and then passed to the consumers. If the increase is not warranted, it will not be passed. If we feel that efficiency, environmental and social considerations are not met in line with Section 2 of the FCCC Act, we will not pass those increases. If a reduction is warranted, we will pass the reduction. And having said that, we have reviewed the ex-factory price for Pacific Cement. GP bulk cement, which currently is $361.85 VEP per ton ex-factory price, is reducing by $43.78, and it will now go down to $318.07. And GP bag cement, which is currently $379.58 per ton, will go down to $320.83, which is a $58.75 reduction per ton. Now, we will closely be monitoring the bag prices in hardware shops, but it's also important to note that cement, bag cement in hardware shops at retail level is not price regulated. We will continue to monitor that this reduction gets passed down. It's also important to note that where increases are forecasted or where reductions need to be passed, we have had a track record since the establishment of Prices and Incomes Board in the 1970s to pass this to consumers. We will not unnecessarily or unduly hold reductions, nor will we hold increases. We want to ensure that the market is not artificially manipulated. We want to ensure that while businesses are able to pass costs through, these costs are not artificial in nature and they're not there to exploit the vulnerabilities of Fijians. We also have received submissions from the Fiji Bus Operators Association. Some bus operators out of, say, Vanuatu have given their full submission. I thank them for that. The central operators have also given their full submission. Thank them for that as well. We are in the process of reviewing it. They've asked for an increase as well. Again, we will be holding public consultations to that effect. Apart from that, we are also announcing a market study into inter-island shipping. The last review was done in 2017. Since then, we have called for submissions from Gounder Shipping and Interlink as well, and those that were there in the market. We've noticed that a few shipping companies have closed shop and either are non-operational or operate very minimally, and new entrants like Interlink have entered the market. It's important to get a full idea and picture of what the inter-island shipping market looks like now, what routes are economical and uneconomical. It will follow FCCC strategy on working with the Ministry of Rural and Maritime Affairs to build economic activity and economic base by establishing rural hubs in this area. We'll be looking at pricing mechanisms and incentivizing companies that operate out of Viti Levu and Vanua Levu with a system of cross-subsidization so that we are ultimately able to reduce cost for vulnerable Fijians in the maritime islands. Because we find that while the income base is the lowest, the cost for goods and services is quite high. The idea is to ensure that no one is left behind and every Fijian in every corner of Fiji is well looked after.